Let us enter into worship with the words of Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. As people of faith and wonder, we welcome in the delight of history, the awe of unfolding adventures, the expansiveness of what it means to behold mystery as a gift of the imagination. Too often we relax into routines, find comfort in old habits, and give in to the confines of our lives. In this time of worship together, may our hearts be nudged open to what may be. May our spirits be wrapped in curiosity to seek mystery and welcome her in. May our time together this day remind us to stay open, stay inquisitive of what we do not yet understand, and be inspired to stretch ourselves into new ways of being. Welcome, mystery. Welcome into our hearts and our time of worship. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit, number 347 in your gray hymnal.
Yeah, I think that was the online version. He only did one verse. We might have more of this today. Just let's see. All right. Please remain standing. Very good. Please remain standing as Lisa Gibson lights our chalice this morning with these following words by Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
Our worship team realized we confused the starting date of Advent, but today we continue our ritual following the time frame we have begun. You can see up there. In the Christian tradition, Advent is the beginning of the church year, recognizing the transforming power of God in the world, and looking forward to the birth of Jesus and celebration of spiritual light. Each week, Until Christmas, we light a new candle on the Advent wreath. When so much asks for our attention, the lighting of one candle after another reminds us that this season must pass in its own time. Birth cannot be rushed. We have the choice to be awakened and fully inhabit the present moment. The light of Advent grows brighter and brighter as we celebrate our coming together as a community. This morning we light the third candle. We light this candle as a symbol of joy. Not just any simple cheer, but the experience of joy that cannot be contained. Advent asks of us to proclaim our gladness as a gift to the world, even when sorrow and uncertainty abound. May we share our hearts through our words, our music, and the way we live our lives. Let the fullness of our joy lead to more freedom. Okay, it is time for our story of all ages. I invite you to gather around as we hear a special tale called Noticing, written by Kobe Yamada, illustrated by Elise Hurst. And before we begin, I just kind of wanted to frame this story. So we're talking about mysticism today. And mysticism sees what they call God or the holy or the sacred and all things. And in this story, we have a painter who sees beauty and awe and wonder and all things. And in mysticism, right, the sacred, God, holy, wonder, awe, joy, they all are synonymous, right? I mean the same thing. So I invite you to see both God and awe in this story together. And I also wonder about mystery, right, and how we can engage with the mystery all around us by finding beauty. Oh! Did anyone hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Folks heard that? There we go. As I was talking, I was like, that's kind of quiet, but I trust myself. All right. So today we're talking about mystery. We're talking about mystery, and I just wonder kind of what mystery we can find when we see the goodness and everything, right? So just to, for those folks online, talking about mystics seeing the holy, the painters seeing wonder and awe, and how to mystics this is kind of one and the same, right? So our story today is a little bit longer than usual, but I just invite you to sit down, gather around, and today I just look forward to sharing this with you.
I'm just going to sit up here so I can see the pictures.
Oh, perfect! If anyone else wants to come forward and see pictures, I invite you to do so at this time. Okay. Pictures? Okay. We're having fun today. Here comes Bernie. Okay. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? It seemed as if someone was talking to me. It's okay, I guess, I replied. Just okay, a woman sitting nearby responded. Why, we have the birds, the trees, the sky, the questions, the what-ifs, and the why-nots. I'd say this is indeed an exceptional day to be alive. Don't you think? If you say so, I shrugged. It seemed like an ordinary day to me. Are you a painter? I asked. I like to think of myself as more of a noticer, really, she answered. I just try to make things from what I see. It is my way of appreciating and honoring them. As I looked at her canvas, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. How could someone create something so amazing, I wondered. She was definitely a painter. She looked over to me and asked, "When you look up, what do you see?" "Clouds?" "You see clouds? That's all just clouds?" the painter asked, astonished. "I think so," I said, uncertain as I scanned the sky. "Why? What do you see?" "Oh, so much," she said excitedly. "It's like the whole sky is tempting me to be amazed. I see wild horses running free and upside down castles. I see whales flying like songbirds and a dragon breathing fire. But it's not only that. I'm filled with butterflies of excitement. It feels like an adventure is unfolding and I don't want to miss any of it." I stared up, wanting to see what she saw. "The more you pause and allow for the extraordinary," the painter explained, "the more you see it." And often what we see depends on what we're looking for. Take this mountain, for instance. She gestured to the horizon. A climber might see a great challenge. A scientist might see the movements of an ancient glacier. And someone else might notice the cool breeze traveling from its snowy peaks. Though we may all look at the same thing, we don't always see it in the same way. That's true for mountains and also for people. When we look at others, we may see their faces or their clothes, she continued, but we are only seeing a tiny piece of who they really are. We often don't notice the important things, like their capacity for love, what they hope for, what they dream of, or who they can become. We often miss the most beautiful parts of them. I wondered what I wasn't noticing. I wondered what I was missing. "What do you see in you?" the painter asked. I looked down at my hands, my clothes, my shoes that were a size too big so I could grow into them. Just a kid like any other kid, I suppose. But you are not like anyone else. In fact, there isn't another person exactly like you anywhere, the painter encouraged. And the amazing thing is, there never has been, and there never will be again. "I'm not sure there's anything all that special about me," I said. Oops. "Oh, but everything is special about you. There really isn't a single thing that isn't extraordinary," she shared enthusiastically. "You are the rare and unique combination of what was and the bright possibility of what can be. And you know what? So is everyone else. Everyone shines and needs to be seen. Everyone wants to know that they matter, that there is a place for them, and that they are needed. Sure, some may hide their brilliance, but the light is in there, always flickering, and it's a beautiful thing when we can reflect it back to them." I always looked forward to my visits with the painter. I had to admit, as much as I couldn't wait to see her, I also couldn't wait to see what she saw. On one occasion, I went to go find her, and she was sitting peacefully with her eyes shut. "What are you doing?" I asked shyly, not wanting to interrupt her. "Hello, you," she smiled and waved me over. "Sometimes I find that I can notice even more when I close my eyes," she explained. "The gentle rustling of my hair, the ideas dancing in my head, the sunshine on my face, and the wonder of being alive." She invited me to close my eyes. What does home look like to you? What does kindness feel like? What does love look like? The painter asked. What does it feel like to have a friend? What does it look like to be one? One of the most important ways we see is with our imagination. So many significant things cannot be seen with your eyes, but they are very real. And that is vital that you look for them and believe in them. I was filled with the feeling of calm and appreciation. It was moving and wonderful. I sat there with my eyes closed, picturing the people and places and things that meant so much to me in my life. One of the best things you can be is interested, the painter shared. When you are interested, you are curious, and when you are curious, you discover things, amazing things, about yourself and about the world. The miraculous is everywhere and in everything, waiting for us to notice, waiting for us to appreciate it, waiting for us to love it. It's been years since that day when I first met the painter. I miss her. I wish she was still here so I could tell her what she had meant to me and how she helped me to look at everything differently. But mostly, what I wish I could say is, thank you for seeing me. Thanks for listening. Please remain seated for our prayer hymn, Comfort Me, number 1002 in the Teal hymnal.
Comfort
In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your heart this morning. Spirit of love and life, source of all that is, great eternal mystery. We come here today, some in lament and sorrow. We come here today, some in awe of pervasive wonder and beauty. We come here today, some with troubled hearts and some with joyful souls. Hold us tenderly in this sacred space where we search for answers to life's great mysteries. Teach us to look for you, great unknowable essence, both beyond us and within us. Help us see you in the eyes of our siblings, in the joy of new life, in our beating hearts and expanding lungs. We are living, breathing creatures with inquiring, inquisitive minds. There are questions that cannot be answered, and yet there is that of which we can intuit. A universal love, an unceasing sacred presence. Held here in this space by reverence, hope, and awe. Held here in this time and space between the mystery of which we have been born and the mystery to which we will return. May we know your presence found in everything animate and inanimate. May we know the sacred web that ties us all together, that holds us in unity as kindred souls. Hold us in this time, in this space. May it be so, and amen. And now, light a final candle for all that we hold in our hearts and in our minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as am I. Please reach out with any needs.
In the words of Branduk L. Lovely, let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. For those of you watching online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the church office. Will the ushers please come forward? For all that you give and all that you do for our church community and its wider concerns, we give thanks. These reflections from philosopher Howard Thurman. As a child, I was accustomed to spending many hours alone in my rowboat, fishing along the river, where there was no sound save the lapping of the waves against the bows. There were times when it seemed as if the earth and the river and the sky and I were one beat of the same pulse. It was a time of watching and waiting for what I did not know, yet I always knew. There would come a moment when beyond the single pulse beat, there was a sense of presence which seemed always to speak to me. My response to the sense of presence always had the quality of personal communion. There was no voice, there was no image, there was no vision. There was God. And this poem by Hermann Hesse. Sometimes, when a bird cries out, or the wind sweeps through a tree, or a dog howls in a far-off farm, I hold still and listen a long time. My soul turns and goes back to the place where, 1,000 forgotten years ago, the bird and the blowing wind were like me, were my brothers and sisters. My soul turns into a tree and an animal and a cloud bank. Then, changed and awed, it comes home and asks me questions. What should I reply? I invite you to rise and body your spirit, to join our voices in hymn number 21 from the Gray hymnal, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Have you ever noticed God or the sacred or the holy present in all that is? Seeing the holy in the eyes of an innocent child, the sacred present in the hope that makes the impossible possible, the divine in the grandeur of towering redwoods or in the artistic beauty of a poem. Have you ever felt at one with all that is? Your own breath mirrored in the breath of spring foliage. Your own inner beauty reflected in the petals of cherry blossoms. Your own cycles of joy and sorrow echoed in the changing seasons. Have you ever best understood the sacred when immersed in awe? Connecting to the great mystery, the unknowable, the ineffable, the source of all that is, when enveloped in the grand expanse of the universe or immersed in a field of poppies. These are the elements, the mysteries and mysticism that we will explore today. One, that God is a sacred, unknowable, ineffable piece of all that is. Two, that we are somehow intimately tied together in our interdependent world. And three, that we best grasp this idea of God through awe, wonder, and intuition. Now, I use the term God in my reflections because that is the language of many mystics. I invite you to interpret with whatever name for the sacred holds true to you. Mysticism is a connection to the unknown and the unknowable, the mystery. Mysticism is best explained by intuition, by emotion, by feeling, by experience, by engaging with the great mysteries, and yet let us attempt to explain it in layman's terms. It is an experience of limitless belonging. Belonging to the sacred, to the world, to the universe, to each breathing creature and all that has come before. At times you may feel at one with all that is, sharing breath, sharing heartbeats, sharing a universal love with the finite and the infinite. Mysticism engages not with separateness or individualism, but with divine and sacred unity. A way to engage with life not as an independent being, but as a small yet critical piece of all things mortal and eternal. Mysticism at its core is this oneness, this unity with God, with the absolute, with the wildly unknowable essence. In each day, yes, and also in individual, unique, profound, and beautiful experiences. It happens in a moment, within minutes, within seconds. Perhaps preceded by prayer, by meditation, by an immersion in nature. We are exposed to this unity and a moment of ecstasy, of a momentarily altered state, a brief experience imbued with religious or spiritual meaning. And we carry these sentiments of this experience with us in each of our days. God resides within us and us in God simultaneously. Let us reflect upon our first point. In mysticism, the sacred is a part of all that is, both transcendent and immanent. The holy is the mysterious source of life, while likewise a part of each tree, each canyon, each summer rainfall. Within every flower, within every cloud, is God. If we pause and intuit, the sacred is also within us. Within each and every one of us resides an element of a great, unknowable essence, a piece of an expansive entity. God becomes laughter, the sacred becomes tears of sorrow and lament. The divine, that great, unknowable mystery. Is the smile of an infant the expression of divine joy? Is the love of a partner or a sibling a way to experience the love of the divine? Is artwork a tactile piece of transcendent beauty? What is the relationship between the infinite and the finite, the sacred and the profane? Each is a part of the other. Every living, impermanent being is imbued with the eternal, a spark of the divine. While we experience mortality, we also experience the eternal. Let us explore our next point. Not only is God a part of all that is, but we are also each a critical and sacred piece of this interdependent world, intimately connected to beauty and all that is, with one another, with nature. Let us return to the words of Hermann Hesse. My soul turns and goes back to the place where, 1,000 forgotten years ago, the bird and the blowing wind were like me, my brothers and sisters. My soul turns into a tree and an animal and a cloud bank. Then changed and awed, it comes home and asks me questions. What should I reply? This is our soul remembering that we have been part of existence for eternity. We are siblings with wind and birds, yes. We are siblings with joy and laughter and the sacred. Does this idea not evoke the mysterious? The words connote an idea of revelation and return, of searching beyond our present form to experience the awe and wonder of all life, of animals and cloud banks, of all of that of which we are a part, returning with nothing but questions and musings and an even deeper sense of mystery. In our reflections, we are changed. We become odd to ourselves, asking of ourselves that which is unknowable. In our revelation, we know unity. In our return, we hold mystery. Let us pray, let us meditate, let us immerse ourselves in nature to evoke a moment with the sacred where we become one with all of this, and the divine answers our queries. Answers with ideas of universal oneness, of unity with God, of an invitation to awe and beauty. We live in a facade of individualism, of being surrounded by strangers, of isolation, and a renunciation of holiness. I think I offer another quote, this from monastic and author Thomas Merton. In Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnuts, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. Through our connection with all that is, we are inevitably connected to each soul on this earth we all call home. Even if we have never met, we have a sense of love for one another because we know of an intimate unity we are a part of, our souls' siblings. We belong to one another, both in this finite realm and within the breath of the infinite, the transcendent. Imagine a world where each being knew one another as brother and sister, as mother and child, as friend and lover. What blessings would humanity bestow upon one another? What hate and animosity and violence would quickly come to an end? We are one with the natural world. The carbon we inhale and oxygen we exhale offers a dance with the breathing of the trees, the bushes, of everything green. Our soul communes with that which is held within a tree, with the air that graces our cheeks. Our inner beauty is reflected in pansies, daisies, roses. Just as we cycle through joy and sorrow, so too does this earth know winter and summer, coldness and warmth, darkness and light. So too do we all know life and death, held within a mortal world. All of this is to know God. It is awe that brings us closest to knowing, to understanding the sacred. Which brings us to our next query. How can we best experience God, the greatest mystery we will ever encounter? Our unity is felt in these moments of beauty and grandeur, of towering mountains and plummeting oceans. If God is a part of all that is, then to relish in this divine natural world is to become proximate to the sacred. God is not an entity or a being, but an intuition, an emotion. And this is what is evoked in a moment of wonder and awe and, yes, mystery. I often try to intellectualize God as God all-powerful, all-knowing, forgiving, all-loving. This is the basis of any theological quest. What is the sacred? How can we know? Mysticism releases us from these questions of reason. Again, God cannot be intellectualized, but intuited. We intuit God when we are intentional in moving through the woods, noticing the crunch of leaves beneath our feet, the trees creating shadows from above, the small creatures digging in the earth. We experience the sacred when we are intentional in engaging with the wonders of falling in love, of giving birth, of witnessing acts of profound compassion and empathy. Experiencing beauty, immersing oneself in awe. That is to know the sacred, for that is to feel the sacred. We become one with the holy through our hearts, our meditations, our engagement with the senses. Our pulse is God's pulse. The breath of life is God's breath of life. There are two complementary ideas I want to engage with. Philosopher Howard Thurman recounted an intimate experience he had while fishing. On the water, immersed in nature, he reflected, It was a time of watching and waiting for what I did not know, yet I always knew. We are looking for an answer, and yet the answer is in our hearts, in our souls. To Thurman, what he always knew was that there was some sort of presence, some sacred presence, an essence of which we are each always in communion with, bidden or unbidden, exchanging intimate thoughts and feelings. Thurman writes, during his time immersed in nature, there was no voice, there was no image, there was no vision, there was God. The sacred is all that is, all to be heard, all to be seen. There was no vision, all to be seen. And yet, just when we think we know God, we are truly the furthest from knowing. If I feel I have a moment of understanding while immersed in study, I am indeed far away from the intuited. Instead, let us pause and immerse ourselves in profound mystery, inviting and welcoming into our hearts and minds the wildly unknowable, the remarkably beautiful, that which is a part of all that is. The sacred is immanent and transcendent, a part of the great mystery of life. We are interdependent, connected to all that is through souls and mystery and wonder. We best experience an unknowable sacred through awe and intuition. I leave you with a story. I was anxious, I was angry, I was tearful. I lay in bed hour after hour, unable to sleep. The velvety darkness of the night sky cloaked me in sorrow and pain. 10 p.m. became 2 a.m., became 6 a.m., and I noticed a change in the night sky. The black was slowly subsiding, and pink sunlight began to crawl into my bedroom. I rose and wandered into my mother's backyard, met with the most spectacular sunrise I have ever seen. The emerging sunlight illuminating the flower beds and lifting the veil of sorrow from my heart. In that moment, I knew my sacred was that rising sun, that the beauty of those flowers was something I could hold inside my being for eternity. I knew I had briefly touched the realm of the infinite as sorrow lifted and an interdependence took its place. In that awe, I knew God, and in knowing God, I knew the beauty within myself. It was my own mystical experience. I leave this as an invitation to reflect upon your own experiences, to invite one into your future, to live in mystery, to live, if just for a moment, as a mystic. May it be so, and amen. Please rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn number 1052 in the gray, teal hymnal, Oneness of Everything.
Beneath the eye, as far reaches the stirring for the first breath of wind is yet perceived. Trust in the storm, becoming one with the depths, and the mysteries to be believed. Songs of life long past that touch our own are hidden in the earth, ever giving. And now, to maintain the harmony, gives to us all lives worth living. For the oneness of everything. Still, we seek to find a truth that we might understand and reduce to terms without. Vast and immeasurable time and space was so overwhelmingly dissolved. Oh, past in years, just might I know the fate that waiters in the heart to be reborn in strength, to hear and to feel the pulse of life, and enters my soul as a song to sing of the oneness of everything.
May we leave this space open to mystery, to the mystery of the unknowable, of the ineffable, open to the mystery of a God both immanent and transcendent, found in the clouds, in the trees as the source of life and beauty. Open to mystery, our souls joining in communion with the earth and the heavens. Open to mystery, of intuiting the sacred through wonder and awe. Open to mystery. Go in peace and amen.